שיעור בגמרא בבא מציעא, פרק השוכר סאומנים, דף עין חס עמוד בייס. This shiur is a continuation from the previous shiur. Last time we learned in the Mishnah, halacha, that there is a ratio of the Mishnah who talks about when somebody rents somebody a donkey and he changed from the place that he was supposed to go. So it doesn't make a difference where he went, and the donkey died, is going to be responsible to pay. And then the end of the Mishnah, the Sefer of the Mishnah said the same case, but the Mishnah makes a difference between if he went to the mountain, if he went to the valley, how she died, got hit it, got overhit it, or slipped, or whatever it is. So one of the last tirutzim of the Gemara, there was 4 tirutzim. The 4 tirutzim of the Gemara was that our Mishnah goes the ratio of the Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Meir, that he holds that if somebody changes from what the Baal Habayis said to him, he's a gazlan, therefore he's obligated to pay because it's like a gazlan that he stole the item, and the moment that he stole it, he's responsible to pay no matter what. And the Sefer goes according to Chachomim. They don't hold the same way. Rather, you have to look at exactly what happened. Now, the Gemara is going to search, where did Rabbi Meir say such a thing? The Gemara has a few options. Option 1, option 2, and it will be pushed off, and then option 3 will be a final option. Frag the Eilike Gemara, the first line on top, the first top line in the Gemara. Ein Ches Amud Beis. Frag the Eilike Gemara, hey Rab Meir, where is that Rab Meir that says Kol HaMa'avir al Das Ba'al Habayis Nekra Gazlan? So choice 1. If you're going to tell me that's the case of Rab Meir from the dyer, what's the case?
From the case of the dyer.
From the case of the dyer that not. Thank you. They will learn in our Mishnah, that's a Mishnah in Baba Kame. Someone gave wool to a dyer, to dye it red, instead he dyed it black. Or Shocher, he was supposed to dye it black, and he dyed it red. So now we come to a machlokes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir Oimer, number 1, the dyer, the tzabor, gets to keep that wool. Why? Because he acquired it. The moment he changed the color, it's his. Then, Noisen Loit made tzabor, he still has to pay to the Baal Habayis the money, how much the wool was worth in the time of the time when he changed the color. So what do we see from here? We see from here that since he changed from the Baal Habayis said he's responsible to pay. It's called the Gazlan. Let's read the Rashi before we're going to go to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Noisen lo made samroy, says Rashi, the second line from the top. Bedomim, from the money, shetzemer lov anim kavashuk, that white wool is being sold in the market. Why does he have to pay before it was even dyed? The Kanya that he acquired that begozloi when he stole it by changing the color, l'shalem kishas gzela, to pay like the time that he stole it. Back to the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda says differently. Rabbi Yehuda says that we look at 2 different components. We look at something that's called shvach, or shevach, which means how much did the item become better, how much did the wool become better now that it was dyed, whatever color it was dyed. And we also look at the expenses of the dyer. The expenses, as Rashi said in the beginning of the perek, not the time expenses, the expenses of the wood that he has to spend, and the spices that he has to spend, and so on and so forth, but not the time. So now back to the Gemara. If the gain, let's say the wool was worth $10, and now it's worth $20, so the shvach is $10, and the yetzia is only $5, that's how much the guy spent. Nois and Lasayitzia gives them the Yetzia, which is the least between those 2 numbers. And if the expenses is $5 and the shvach is, let's say, $2, Nois and Shvach, he gives them the gain. Rashi. Rashi tells us which expenses do we count. The money that it cost them for the wood and the spices, and not the complete payment. Back to the Gemara. Shlog of the Gemara, Mimai, how do you know that this is the Rabbi Meir that holds Kol HaMa'avir al Das Ba'al Habayis Nekra Gazlan? In any place, Dilma maybe Shani also. Over there by Yatzabo, it's different. Why we call it over there? Because that's something that Gemara that we brought to our Gemara. So it's over there. Over there, by the case of Tzaba, is different, meaning the only over there Rabbi holds that if you change your chayiv. Why the kanya b'shinui ma'aseh? Because he acquired that when he changed the item from the way it was. But by the donkey just died. Nobody changed anything. So how do you know Rabbi will hold so old? In that case, kol hama'avir al das bal habayis nikra gazlan. Rashi, b'shinui sheshino mikemo yishoyo, that he changed it from the way it was. Ve'ikel amandomar, there is an opinion that says shinui koine, that if you change it, you acquired it, you're responsible for it. Where does the Gemara say it? By Goizel Kame, in the first parak of a Goizel thing, in the Gemara Baba Kame, there is a Goizel Eitziv and a Goizel Umachir, so it's in a Goizel Eitziv. Aval gabe achamoi lo nishtana achamoi. But the donkey is not changed. The donkey just died. He didn't change. He just changed direction. Back to the Gemara. So the Gemara is now trying a different case. Elo or Rab Meir. Rather, this is the Rab Meir who says, "Kol hama'avir al das bal habayis nekra gazlan in any place." For where the Magbis Purim, from the case of collecting money of Purim. On Purim, there is two collectors. The Gaboim of Tzedakah collecting money for the poor people to have the Sudas Purim and Matonas Levyanim, and also the poor people themselves also collecting money for their Sudas Purim. So let's see. The Bryce is going to talk about, can we change from the money that it was collected? The Tanya, we learned in a Bryce. Magbis Purim lePurim. Money that the Gaboim collected for Sudas Purim is lePurim. You can only use it for Sudas Purim. Magbis Sohir, money that the people from that particular city collect for the poor people of that city, leOy Sohir, only goes for the people of that city, not for our neighbor city. Another halacha, ve'ein medaktekim badover. So there is two opinions exactly what it means. Ve'ein medaktekim badover. There's the opinion of Rashi who says we are not so careful. We are not being exact. Let's say if you collected $10,000, so we're going to say let's make sure that the meal cost only $2,000. So we're going to spend $2,000, and the rest goes for other tzedakah. But what do? We take many calves with all the money. That means we spend all the money. We eat them. And the leftover, then it's going to be leftover from the actual meal. Can go to any other expensive tzedakah. But originally, you actually have to spend the entire money for tzedakah. The other opinion is, I believe the Nebuki Yosef says, that ein medaktik im adover, this is halacha regarding people. Usually, when somebody comes to collect tzedakah, you size him, you look at him. Is he worthy? Is he not worthy? Is he really collecting for himself? Or is he not collecting for himself? How much percentage does he take? And so on and so forth. On Purim, there's no cheshbonos. You're not medaktik to see who, when, what. You just give tzedakah without looking, without making cheshbonos. Let's read the Rashi. Magbis Purim lePurim zog deile ki Rashi moy shegoyvim agaboim b'bnei ha'ir. Money that the Gaboim collect from the people of the city lechalek la'anim lesudas Purim, to give to the poor people for the meal of Purim lePurim zog deile ki Rashi kulo yitnuo le'anim the Purim. The whole amount of money that it was collected will be used for the sudas Purim. Ve'en medaktekim lo imardayim b'pochis. And we are not being exact to say, let's make the meal for less. And the leftovers will go to money of tzedakah, to any other purpose. We take a lot of calves, in the entire money. And the leftovers that we're going to be able to eat, he will sell the actual meat that it was cooked, that it was done, the food, and that money will be go for the pocket of tzedakah for any other use. Back to the Gemara. Rab Lezer says, Magbis Purim lePurim. So, Taisus right away, we're going to look at the Taisus of Rab Lezer. Taisus right away has a question. Rabbi Lezer and Tanna Kama is saying the exact same thing. So why is he repeating it? So let's see the Tosfos. The Tosfos Rabbi Lezer Rieber. Rabbi Lezer Rieber mag bispurim lepurim zog daile ketosfos. Tanna Kama lo hayri elo begabai. Tanna Kama only talks about by a gabai the lo yeshani should not change. But Rabbi Lezer hayri beoni. Rabbi Lezer talks about a poor man shenosnu lo imois letzor seudas purim, that they gave him money for the meal of Purim. You cannot change it for any other things. As we're going to see, you only allowed to use it for the Sudas Purim. Back to the Gemara. Another halacha. The poor man has no permission to buy from the money that was given to him for Sudas Purim to buy a shoelace for his sandals. Unless he made a condition to the people of the city, in front of the people of the city, that he asked him permission, can I use the money that you guys giving me for Purim for my shoelaces? Now, who says this entire brisa? Divrei Rabbi Yaakov she'omar mishum Rameir. This is Rabbi Yaakov said in the name of Rameir. Rameir said the whole entire brisa from the beginning to the end. And the end of the brisa is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Making Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is lenient, meaning L'katchila, you should not buy shoelaces from the money of Purim, but if you did, we'll forgive you. You don't have to pay back. Thank you.
So he's taking money from money.
Yeah. Now, so what do we see from here? That a poor man that takes money that I was giving for him for Sudas Purim, if he uses it, it says you're not allowed. That means if you did, you are gazlan. So we see that if somebody changes from whatever the Balabais told him, it's considered a gazlan. Schlag da Abdeile Gemara. Mimai. No, there's no Mimai. The line begins with the word Mishum Rabbe. Schlag da Abdeile Gemara. Dilma, maybe awesome nami over there in the case of Magbis Purim. Also, is a specific reason why you're not allowed. Not because Rabbi holds in any place. Kol hama'aver das balabais nekel gazlan. It's a specific reason. What's the specific reason? The adaita the Purim the Yoivlei, the person who gave the poor man the money, he only gave it to him on the mind to spend it for Sudas Purim because he wanted to fulfill the mitzvah of Purim, which is Matanas Leviani. Adaita the midah achine lo Yoivlei. He didn't give it to him on anything else in mind. Therefore, if the poor man is taking that money and use it for something else, so therefore he's a gazlan. Why? Because the Balabai says intention to fulfill the mitzvah of Matanas Leviani, and you're not helping him fulfill his kavanah. Rashi. Adaita the midah achini lo yoivlei. 1 second. V'kiven the lav adaita the achu yoiv. And since he didn't spend the money on that item, nimtzo comes out mois becheskes balim. It's considered that the money is still in the pocket from the Balabais. I mean the money that he's spending for other things. Chutz min hayotzim b'sudas Purim, except the ones that he spent for Sudas Purim, because that's the intention of the Balabais, only to give them for Sudas Purim. Question? We have one more thesis that we wanted to learn. Are we allowed to change from money for Purim to money of tzedakah or not? Magbis Purim lePurim. Frag le'er k'toisus im toimer. The Amrina be'erchim, we said in Gemara erchim, moisil shetzedakah, if a guy has money that he collected for tzedakah, mutar l'shanoisam b'chol ma she'yirtzeh. You're allowed to change it to honor other causes of tzedakah. Any tzedakah that you want. You don't have to give it dafka to that tzedakah. Ve'afilu bo lidei gabai. And even if it already came, you already gave it to the gabbai of tzedakah that he collects for that purpose, you're allowed to change it. And even more. And even if a guy says, this menorah, 1 second, this menorah, I'm donating this menorah to the Beis HaMikdash, you're allowed to change it. So why by mitzvah Purim we say definitely not allowed to change, and by any other tzedakah you're allowed to take the money from one tzedakah to another tzedakah. Now regarding the halacha, regarding this aspect, you have to look in Shulchan Aruch. We're not learning halachas from Tosfos, so it's a good question what you're going to ask, but we're not learning halachas from Tosfos. We're just learning the Tosfos. And for the Eilik Tosfos, the dafke bepurim amrina na'acha, only bepurim we say over here, then l'shano is that you're not allowed to change. And also, magbis lo yisrael, when it says the collection of the people is only for that for the people of the city. Nami the Purim Dafka. It's only by Purim, meaning this whole Braisa only talks about Purim. Why? Because by Purim we wanted to fulfill the mitzvah of Matanas Levyanim, so we don't want to go out of that Shabbos. Unless, as the Braisa already says, that you're allowed to, after you did the whole Sudas Purim and leftover food, from the leftover food, then you're allowed to change it to any other tzedakah. Back to the Gemara. Now this is the final try, which is going to be successful. And for the Eleke Gemara, Elo Rab Meir, rather this is the Rab Meir that says that if you change from what the Balabais told you, consider a Gazlan Letanya, learning a Braisa. Rab Shimon ben Elazar Oimer, Mishum Rab Meir, Rab Shimon ben Elazar says in the name of Rab Meir, Anoi Serdin Eloni, somebody who gave a dinner to a poor man. To do what with it? Lekach Loi Chaluk, to buy him a shirt, Lo Ikar Boy Talis. The poor man is not allowed to buy him a coat out of that money. Talis, or if he gave him to buy a coat, Lo Ikar Boy Chaluk. You should not buy a shirt. Why he's not allowed to do it? Because he's changing from what the Balabais told him. So what we see? We see clearly. It says you're not allowed to change from what the Balabais told you because you're not allowed. So it says if you change, you consider a Gazlan. Now the Gemara is still trying, the Yeshiva Bacha is still trying to slog it up. Maybe it's something else, but not the reason of Kol HaMa'avir everywhere. Maybe Shani also over there is different when what? When the guy gives money to a poor man is different. Only over there you're not allowed to do that. Why? The Osel Mirshadei, we're gonna come to suspect the guy who's giving tzedakah. The Amri Inshi people will say, Omar Planya, this guy said, this rich guy says, I will buy a shirt to this poor man, and he didn't buy him. Inami, or he said, I'm going to buy him a coat, and he didn't buy it to him. Which means, for example, we see the people of the shul saw that the poor man came to the rich guy, and the rich guy told him, I'm going to give you, come to my house, and I'll give you $1 or $10 a dino to buy yourself a coat. I'm going to give you $10 to buy yourself a shirt. Later on we see, he gave him the money. People did not see that he gave him the money. But later on, people don't see the poor man with the coat or with the shirt. So what are people going to say? This guy's just a show off. He just said it to impress people, but he actually didn't do it. He didn't give him the money. So people are going to talk bad about the rich guy who did not give money, even though he actually did. So we wanted to avoid the poor man causing an avera for the people to talk bad about the rich guy. So what do? We tell the poor man, you're not allowed to change. Because there is a mitzvah in the Torah, one second please. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, you're not allowed to cause a blind person in a mitzvah, you're not allowed to cause him. So if you cause people to talk lashon hara about us, bad about us, so we did an avera. So therefore, the poor man is not allowed to change, so people will not think that the rich guy did not do what he was supposed to do, and will talk lashon hara about him. But it's not the real reason of Kol HaMa'avir al das balabais. Rashi. They're going to come to suspect the balabais. Where? When somebody promises to give tzedakah and he didn't fulfill. We heard about him that he said, to take a coat for this poor man, and he didn't buy him, so people are going to talk bad about him. And back to the Gemara, shlogged up the Gemara, in Cain. If so, that the reason that a poor man is not allowed to change from the money that he was giving, because of causing suspicious talk about the balabais, why does the Braisa didn't say that that's the reason? The Braisa says mipnei. So the Braisa should have said mipnei achashat and not mipnei shemavir. And why mipnei shemavir al daitcha shabava? Why does it say those words? The meaning that the real reason doesn't say the Braisa. It says something else. Why doesn't the Braisa write the real reason mipnei achashat and the Braisa writes something else? Shema mino. So obviously we hear from that mishum deshanu, because you change. Anybody who exchanged from what the balabais told them is considered a gazlan. Okay, with that we finished. Actually, we found the case of where does Rabbi says kol ha'maver al dash balabais. So the fourth teretz is a beautiful teretz. Now the Gemara goes back. It's a small sugya. The Gemara goes back to explain in the Mishnah in Daf Ayin Ches Amud Aleph says that if somebody rented a donkey in vehivriko, and we don't know what's ivriko. I mean, we figure out from the Rashi, but Rashi says one thing before the Gemara, and then he explains it a little bit. But the Gemara is going to explain what's ivriko. What happened to the donkey? What's vehivriko? What happened? And for the Elke Gemara, Ocho in Bavel, Tirgimu Neoraisa. They translated the word Ivriko to the word Neoraisa. What's Neoraisa? Neoraisa means a lot of light. The word Ivriko comes from the word Borok, lightning. Neoraisa means a lot of light. We want to call, we don't want to say someone, we don't want to refer, even for an animal, we don't want to refer to, even to an animal, to say in a not nice way, oh, she became blind, so we say she has Ivriko, which means a hinted way, she has a lot of light, which really means she is blind. No, Raisa says Rashi, mulyo belaz. No, it's mulyo in Old French. Ayoitzes b'shocharayin, they affected the animal in the pupil of the eye, in the black part of the eye. Rove says no. Ivriko is another thing. Avzekes. Avzekes means worms went into her feet and she cannot walk. She has really affected her feet. Rashi, Avzekes, atoiloim itliu ragleo. Worms went into her feet and the inside, obviously not on the outside.
She could walk, but
Avzekes also comes from bozok. Avzekes and bozok come from ivriko. Bozok and ivriko is the same word.
She could walk. The donkey could walk.
It's literally very, very hard. She can't. It's hard for her. Yeah, right. Yeah, thank you for the correction. Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. Okay, so the Gemara brings now a short story regarding to correspond to the word of zekes. Zog de'elike Gemara, Ahuda Omar Lahu was a person, a manager who manages the clothing of the king, the treasure, the expensive clothing of the king. He told them there is moth in the clothing, in the expensive clothing of the king. So that means either he did his job good, or he had an impossible job, so it was unexcused. They told him, they asked him, what type of clothing did you see it? Betale kesef, in clothing of pishton, which is color, the same silver color. Or betale dav, or clothing wool colored red gold. Rashi, betale kesef, clay pishton, clothing from flax. Betale dav, says Rashi, clay tzemer tzvui mother. Clothing made from wool colored red. So now what happened to him? So we see, number one, we see that Avzekes means moth, worm. Ike the Amri, those who say what happened, he answered Betali Kesef. He answered that it happened in Klei Pishton, and they killed him. Why? So Rashi says, She'ein ash oichel klei pishton, because ash, moth, doesn't go into pishton. Therefore, you should be able to watch it good. Either it was easy to watch, or you should watch it good, or you're lying. So therefore, they killed him, because you're not responsible for the king's stuff. Some people says that he did it in the clothing of the tzemer colored red, which is the color of gold, v'shofku, and they let him go, because it's literally almost impossible to watch such clothing from the moth not to go in, so it's oines, so they let him go. Thank you for listening to the shiur.